78% of enterprises now use cloud observability tools, and 82% of IT leaders say observability is mission critical to manage distributed systems, highlighting the visibility into telemetry, performance, security is now essential for modern cloud and cybersecurity operations. My name is Paul Nashawaty. I'm the practice lead and principal analyst for the AppDev practice, and I'm joined by Martin Mao, co-founder and CEO of Chronosphere. And after the acquisition, he joined Palo Alto as a senior vice president and general manager of observability. Martin, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Good to see you again, Paul. Looking forward to our conversation today.
Absolutely. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and make it less scripted the way I said
it? Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you put it spot on. I was the CEO co-founder of Chronosphere. We are an observability platform. We provide the whole breadth of the suite there. And in particular, targeting these more cloud native, and AI native use cases there. And more recently, probably about a couple of months ago, we were acquired by Palo Alto Networks. So now I run the team inside Palo Alto Networks in the business to go and to drive the observability business for them.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Martin, there's a lot going on in this space. It's obviously an important time. There's a rapid shift to cloud native and AI driven environments. It's really creating massive volumes of really telemetry data. It's making it increasingly difficult for organizations to monitor performance. It really is detecting these anomalies that are happening in secure systems in real time. It's a big push and a big challenge organizations are running into. But at the same time, fragmented observability and security tools are leaving gaps that increase risk, slow incident response, and limited ability to act on these insights quickly. What we're seeing in our 2025 research is 75% of respondents say they use 6 to 15 different tools, for observability. So this is a big area that we have to kind of talk about. And Martin, I want to jump right in. And when we look at it, let's talk about the acquisition. It combines Palo Alto Security with Chronosphere observability, given the enterprise's real-time visibility into complex cloud AI systems. So when we look at that, how is the integration of Chronosphere observability platforms enhancing Palo Alto and the AI-driven cybersecurity offerings?
Yeah, I would say immediately on the integration side, there's probably two things that will be benefiting on the Palo Alto side. The first of which is the Chronosphere telemetry pipeline. Paul, as you know, I believe this is a telemetry pipeline that we actually acquired ourselves through a company called Calyptia. And the telemetry pipeline is really responsible for collecting all of the event and log data in a particular environment and feeding it both to security backends and observability backends. And while we were feeding it to our observability backend, a lot of our use cases were already security use cases. So you can imagine that the very first thing we're doing is a much tighter integration with the security backends of Palo Alto, and in particular, Cortex XIM, the Palo Alto SIM, Cloud SIM product there. So there'll be a benefit from that perspective of having a single telemetry pipeline that can collect, route, transform, reduce, and redact a lot of that data for both types of backends across the Palo Alto suite on the observability and the security side, in addition to other backends that the telemetry pipeline supports as well. So that is one immediate area where I think there'll be benefit to the broader Palo Alto suite. The other area is we're doing integration on the Cortex Agentics platform right now. The Cortex Agentics platform is Palo Alto's AI agent platform that goes and remediates historically various security issues. So, once you detect these security issues, there'd be AI agents that would go and actually remediate them inside your environment. And you can imagine the platform also handles all the permission required and all the integrations and whatnot there. We're also adding remediation of observability found capability as well. So you can imagine things like if we detect that a deployment was bad and is causing issues, or perhaps a feature flag was turned on. Those would be things that an observability platform like Chronosphere can go and detect. However, now there is also remediation capability as well to resolve this. So those two are the sort of more immediate benefits to the rest of the Palo Alto suite. And then we are looking over time in other areas where it does make sense, not really integrating for the sake of integrating, but where it really does make sense to add observability capabilities to the existing security capabilities there.
Yeah, Martin, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Responding to the client's needs, responding to the market demands. We're seeing organizations really are expecting faster anomaly detection and threat response. It's part of what they're just asking for, especially with the introduction of AI. into production workloads. But helping them prevent downtime and secure critical applications is basically an effective way of utilizing what you're talking about here, right? But when I look at what this kind of merger, this acquisition strategy is doing, what is the measurable impact that we're seeing is or expected on enterprise cloud monitoring and threat detection capabilities post acquisition? You mentioned a little bit already, but I think that there's more kind of unpack here.
There is for sure, and you can imagine the measure for the observability industry has always been that the mean time to remediate a particular issue, right? So there's also a mean time to detect, and obviously you want to detect these issues as quick as possible, but ultimately you want to remediate the issue there. So I would say on the observability side, we were already working on an AI agent driven way to automatically detect the root cause of a particular issue. We did the initial release of that late last year on the Chronosphere side called AI guided troubleshooting. And again, that's using AI agents to look at your observability data, look at your systems and try to figure out what's wrong and tell you what's wrong. Now that will get you to detecting and figuring out what's wrong. It doesn't really remediate the issue. And historically with observability platforms, you would then take that information and a human would go and manually try to resolve whatever that issue was. Now with the integration for agentics, we can actually go further than just automatically detecting what the issue is, but we can also automatically remediate that issue as well. And you can imagine with both of those pieces and both driven by AI and with less manual intervention, the time to actually remediate and the mean time to remediate issues is going to be far shorter. And really the observability industry is moving from just detection, and you can imagine in the name it's observing and monitoring and detecting, into actually taking action and ultimately remediating the issue as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that as maturity grows within organizations, adding different functionality and observability, matters, right? But this also, aligns nicely to, I mean, a stat earlier, I mentioned a stat earlier about 75% using 6 to 15 different tools in observability. We also see that in that same research, 54% of organizations are moving in favor of a unified platform. And when I think about this acquisition, this moves and positions out Palo Alto into an area where it's offering a unified platform that blends observability and security, increasing enterprise demands and across the ecosystem. So when I think about this acquisition, how does it help position Palo Alto relative to competitors in the observability space? Because Palo Alto wasn't really known for that so much as more focused on security, but looking at the competitors in the observability space, as well as the cloud securities markets, because now those are kind of converging, right?
They are. And if you think about historically, both were very large adjacent markets, the cybersecurity and observability there. And there has been a history of, I would say, tools that did a little bit of both. So if you think about a Splunk or an Elastic, these were tools built on top of the log and the event data type. And because of that, that's the same data type that's used in some security use cases and some observability use cases. Wouldn't provide the whole suite. So historically, there's been some vendors out there that sort of played a little bit in both. But this is really the first time in the industry where you have a full cybersecurity platform, in fact, the market leading cybersecurity platform, combined with a full observability platform as well. That's never been done before. So it does position Palo Alto Networks as having really the full-fledged capabilities in both markets to go to tackle both markets. And what you see on the observability side are observability vendors slowly starting to add security functionality, but it's really incrementally one piece at a time. And what this really allows Palo Alto to do is really provide two full-fledged platforms to combine under one and the capabilities there, and really for the first time be in a position to bring that to the market.
All right, so let's talk about that. So while integration does have its challenges, right? But aligning engineering teams around cloud native and AI first principles really helps drive innovation rather than friction, right? We know that that's kind of happening. So when you talk about this ecosystem, you talk about these kind of two worlds colliding, so to speak. What challenges might arise in the merging of Chronosphere's engineering culture with the platform and in Palo Alto's existing solution? Because it's two very different companies, so to speak, right?
It's definitely two different companies historically targeting two different markets there for sure. And definitely, as we thought through the company and our options and we looked at this acquisition, one of the big risks in my mind is, is the acquisition and integration going to slow us down, or is it going to ultimately speed us up? Because the reason we decided to go down this path is actually not to give up on our mission. Our mission originally was to disrupt and lead the observability market. And while we got a great head start on that in the disruption part, we're still working our way towards leading the observability market, and we're really looking for a way to accelerate that. And that's really what it's been. What it's felt like thus far. It's been about 5 weeks since we closed the acquisition, but I would say from an engineering perspective, I think the leaders at Palo Alto understand that it's a different product for a different set of use cases and different personas, different budget. It's quite different from the previous Palo Alto acquisitions that they made before. And because of that, they are cognizant of not integrating for the sake of integrating. And we mentioned a couple of the integration points, but there's not really, I would say, unnecessary integration just for the sake of it is one thing. And the other thing is, because it's addressing a separate market, I believe this is the first time that they have both the go-to-market team, so that the Chronosphere go-to-market team and historically the Chronosphere R&D team, both still continue to operate under myself as the general manager for the observability business. That allows us to continue executing at speed. So from an integration perspective, we haven't really seen much that has necessarily slowed us down. However, on the other side, it's actually, on the flip side, it's actually sped us up in the sense that you can imagine on the product and engineering side, we are doing more integrations, but we also, I would say, are growing the team faster than we've ever grown in order to deliver on our roadmap at a much faster pace than we've ever had before. And then on the go-to-market side of the house, you can imagine Palo Alto and Chronosphere had actually targeting a similar segment of the market at the top end. And you can imagine having access to the 80,000 customers is really accelerating us on the go-to-market side as well.
That's super interesting. I mean, I really do think it's the dynamics and how you see the vision of this coming together. It's going to be interesting to see how it all comes together. I'm really excited to see that. I do want to talk about integration with regards to the end users now, right? So when we look at the end users, a lot of what I'm seeing is, customers are gaining that kind of view from a single pane of glass, monitoring and security, really, which helps simplifies and accelerates actionable insights across their ecosystems. But they're also used to using their bespoke tools, right? So they might have integration using a tool that they're using. Like, for example, if you're talking to a developer or you're talking to an IT ops person, well, you're talking to a CISO or whatever it may be, customers are going to use whatever tools they're using. So how do you see customers benefiting from the combined telemetry, analytics, and security insights? And, specifically, I like to talk about in the context of what they're using today. Like, so if there's a shift and they want to use Chronosphere or they want to use Palo Alto, can they get those insights from each other and then pass it back and forth with using that pane of glass that they're used to?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll say right now the immediate integration we've been looking at is really on the data collection and ingestion and routing to the various backend side, and the normalization of the data that we can do there. So that's one natural integration, I would say, across both the security use cases and the observability use cases, and often it's overlapping sources of data there for sure. To your point, I would say both sides and both markets, in both sides, we are trying to displace and consolidate a lot of the existing products in a particular environment. So you mentioned, on average, 6 to 15 different observability tools in a particular company. So we are trying to consolidate that into fewer and fewer platforms. Obviously, there's going to be more and more integrations between the Palo Alto security platform and the observability platform over time. And in particular, I would say observability, I would say, has a particular view of your architecture and your application that's different from the security view. The observability view and the security view, there's overlaps. They are quite different. And then over time, what you're going to see is more and more integration of perhaps not that being one view, but you can imagine having the security view and generator view inform some of the pieces on the observability side, and vice versa is going to be really useful for the end users eventually over time. But we do have to keep in mind that, ultimately, these are two different use cases for different end users trying to solve fairly different problems there as well. So, while there's going to be integration, I do think there is a huge benefit not having one single tool try to cover both of those there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the personas that are going to be using the products are going to vary based on companies and also based on maturity of companies as well. So it's, depending on where they are in their journey, I think it's important to meet the client where they are, and try to figure out how you can provide the value that you're doing. And you have a tremendous amount of value on both sides of the house here. And I think that value is being fed up to what the client's trying to achieve is going to be important. So Martin, there's a lot here. The market is there's a lot of buzz around this. There's a lot of interest. Where can the market go to learn more about what's happening? Any real-time updates, anything that they want to learn? Where can they go?
Yeah, I think the Palo Alto Networks website is probably the best place to go in the meantime to learn the latest. And of course, as these integrations and announcements roll out, we'll of course be keeping the market up to date on all those as well.
Martin, it's always a pleasure having you on. It's great. Super exciting times. I'm really excited about where this is going and how it's all coming together. I've been along the journey with you for some time, so I'm really excited to see where you guys take it next. This is really, really cool. So thanks for being our guest today, and a big thank you to all of you who tuned in. We really do appreciate you being part of the AppDevANGLE community. But for now, that wraps up this episode, and we'll be back next Wednesday for another conversation diving into the tools, trends, and talent shaping the future of application development. So whether you're deploying at the edge, building with AI, or modernizing your cloud stack, we've got you covered. So be sure to follow us on social if you have any thoughts, questions, or just want to connect. Until next time, stay curious and stay building.